right, well, I met Ginny over the phone, actually. We have a common person, a friend involved here. Ginny's lived in Warren County for the past 14 years with her husband and children. She has 5 amazing children, 3 boys and 2 girls, ranging in age from 27 to 12, so she's been busy. All 5 children either attended or currently attend Warren County Public Schools. She completed her bachelor's degree from Shepherd University, majoring in social work. Several years later, she continued her education through the University of Phoenix, where she obtained a master's in special education and most recently received a certification in administration and leadership from the University of California, PA. She was initially hired by the Warren County Public Schools as a special education teacher at Ressie Jeffries Elementary, where she taught for 8 years. Excuse me, 3 years ago, she accepted the Child Find Coordinator position, where she has the opportunity to reach out to families and children in our community, offering a wide variety of support and services. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Ginny. Come on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. When I was originally approached about coming here and speaking to you today about our preschool program, it starts in different places. So what I wanted to do was go through our child find process, talk to you a little bit about that. It's kind of a little bit boring. And then we'll move, and then I can talk to you more about what we've done this year with our preschool and how we're reaching out to more preschoolers in the county and offering services that we have never been able to do in the county. So it's very exciting. The school system has to provide child find. It's a federal requirement. We offer services starting to children at the age of 2 years old. They have to be 2 by September 30th through the age of 5. And we do this in lots of ways. We collaborate with ITC, or Infant Toddler Connection. They provide early intervention services to children starting at the age of birth, or they start at birth through the age of 3. When they're right before their 3rd birthday, or about 90 days before, we'll get referrals so that they can have the continuum of services, so there's just not a stop. So oftentimes we'll get referrals, and then the children will, ITC services are based in their home. Then when they come to the school system, the services are either based on an outpatient type module or through classroom-based services. So if they're coming in just for speech, it could be that the parents would just bring them in for their speech services, and then they would go on about their day. Maybe they attend an area daycare service or a daycare center, or they'll attend one of our preschool classrooms. We collaborate with the doctors. We have, I went way too far, sorry. We'll collaborate with doctors. We have flyers all over the school, so we really try to get the word out. And how we get referrals is referrals can come from anyone. They can come from parents, they can come from the school. A lot of times we already have children in the program as far as in K through 5, or K through 12, and the parents will come to their teachers and say, you know, I just had a baby, or I have a 2-year-old and they're not speaking, or we noticed some developmental concerns, and then the teachers are well aware of child find, and they'll refer to us as well. A lot of referrals come from doctors' offices, different people. So once we get a call regarding a concern, then I will make contact. I'm their first point of contact. I will call, we'll talk about their concerns, schedule an appointment. They'll come to my office, which is located at Northwestern Community Services in the Special Services area. They'll come in, we'll do a screening, typically about 45 minutes. We do both a developmental screening and a speech screening. Jason Gilkerson, who is one of our speech pathologists, he does the speech screenings with me. We'll go through the process, and then we'll have what we refer to as a child study meeting. And we do all this in the same time. So we do the screening, and then we have the meeting. So when the parents leave, they have a pretty good idea of what our concerns are. Sometimes we don't have any concerns, but oftentimes we do, and then we'll have to make a referral for a more in-depth evaluation. We may just look at speech, or we may look at a developmental evaluation, or we may look at both. So it just depends. Once we go through that process, the school system then has 65 days to complete a full evaluation or in whatever specific area that we're concerned about. Then after the 65 days, we'll come back to eligibility. And when we make that initial referral, there are 13 different categories that we can consider. A lot of times, speech is pretty cut and dry. So you know you're going to look at if there's an articulation concern, concerns about how they're making sounds, if there's a vocabulary concern or just a language issue. Sometimes we'll just refer for speech. A lot of the surrounding counties don't typically do just speech-only evaluations for children between 2 and 4. They'll do a developmental evaluation, and then they'll provide services based on that developmental eval. We do both, and we also do socioculture, so we get a whole picture of what's going on, so we know what happened, if there was any significance at birth, were there any pregnancy concerns. We really want to know the whole child to be able to provide them the best possible services. So some of the categories that we could look at: speech and language, developmental delay, multiple disability, there's other health impairment. Typically what we see is developmental delay and speech and language between the ages of 2 and 5. So autism is becoming an up-and-coming one that we look at as well. But there are 13. So after someone's found eligible, then we'll write an IEP based on what their need was. So if it was speech and language, then we'll write an IEP and develop objectives and goals that we work on over a year's time to increase speech. The same thing if it was developmental, we would offer developmental services. And when we write that IEP, that dictates where the services are provided. So is it provided in an early childhood classroom? Is it provided as a service provider location, which is where just someone would bring their child in? We provide services in just a small amount of time, and then they go back home or go to daycare or wherever the child is during the day. And the parents must sign the IEP in order for the services to begin. They also have to sign eligibility too, so they have to be in agreement. And what we try to tell our parents is they are a huge part of the IEP team. Their voice is very much important and needs to be heard. So as far as what our early childhood special education programs that we offer, we have 7 different programs within the county. We were fortunate this year to be able to add a new classroom, but our goal is always the same: to provide early intervention, to provide the students or the children with the maximum skills so that they're ready for kindergarten. We provide inclusive opportunities, and it's based on evidence-based practices. So when I say we're looking at inclusive opportunities, every one of our classrooms are a mixture. So we have students with disabilities and students without disabilities. We do have one classroom that's geared more to significant needs because of autism. That classroom is not so much an inclusive classroom. It does have community-based children, but it's not a 50-50 model like the rest of the classrooms. We start with a Bright Beginnings classroom, and I have the opportunity to teach that class 4 days a week. We offer that to 2 and 3-year-olds, students with disabilities and with role models. This year I can say that is actually a 50-50 split. In the years past, it was higher with students with disabilities. There were just so many that we were trying to serve. It was harder to get a good mix to make it a 50-50 split. This is a collaborative program with us, the school system, and Northwestern Community Services. The school system provides the teacher, and Northwestern Community Services provides the classroom and the assistant. It is located at Northwestern. And we do all kinds of fun stuff. What I like to say we do in there is we teach by play, a lot of play going on. We have a speech pathologist that comes in twice a week. We have music therapy, we have occupational therapy, physical therapy, and even the therapy dogs come in and read with the kids once a week. So it's very cool stuff going on in that room. Not just because I teach it. It's pretty cool. So our other classrooms, we do have a collaborative program with Head Start at LFK. We don't have a teacher per se in the classroom, but we'll send, if there's students in the Head Start, we'll provide services. We'll provide services to the teacher if there's developmental concerns. And we also have a speech pathologist that goes in and provides speech groups. We do have a specialized classroom intended for students with sensory, social, and communication deficits. That classroom is the one I was telling you about. That classroom is located at LFK, and it has a teacher and 2 assistants. And right now, there are currently, I believe, 9 students being served between our community-based and our students with IEPs. And how this classroom, our community-based, is a little bit different. So, and I'll talk to you about how we provide 4-year-olds, but for both Bright Beginnings and the Get Classroom, we just open that up to community residents. There's not really a criteria, they just have to be typically developing to provide a good role model. The specialized classroom, typically our community-based are 4-year-olds, and obviously in our Bright Beginnings classroom, we take 2 and 3-year-olds. And then I told you that we already had speech and language services only. So, and this is what I'm most excited about, is our new preschool programs that we have. This year I had the opportunity to go from the Child Find Coordinator to the Family Engagement Coordinator, just a fancy title, just a lot more work. But Virginia Preschool Initiative, we have been providing that for many years here in Warren County. The state offers us an amount of slots that they will fund. And they are, what we're allotted here in Warren County is 82 slots. We have never been able to fill 82 because we didn't have, I don't know if it's we didn't have the children, we didn't have the staff, we didn't really have a location, because of just how much we had grown in the county. But this year we were actually able to hire a new teacher and a new assistant and completely fill all 82 slots actually. All 82 slots, so it's very exciting. So we were typically only providing about 40 slots to preschoolers, but now we're fully funded, we're fully full, and it's very exciting. Good things are happening. We opened up a new classroom at Hilda J. Barber. What we did was we moved a class that was at LFK to Hilda so that that school had a preschool program, and we actually opened up a new program at Ressie Jeffries. So now Ressie Jeffries has 2 classrooms. Another option for 3 and 4-year-olds is Head Start, and then we do provide support to our area preschool and daycares in the community. So VPI, which is our program, stands for Virginia Preschool Initiative. It's for 4-year-olds. The purpose of this is to provide quality preschool programs to 4-year-olds to meet state criteria. So what the state says is we want to provide a 4-year-old program that to students that meet risk factors, because we're missing these kids, and when they're getting to school, they're not ready. So what can we do? So there's 4 criteria, and it's either an income-based. It could be that the student has a disability, and so the income base is a lot higher. The person is homeless, or they did not graduate from high school. They could receive their GED, but they couldn't have graduated. So those are 4 shoe-ins. They'll get you into a classroom if we have space. There also is, we are allowed to take 15% if they don't meet that criteria, but they meet a criteria that we set as a school system. We're not having a struggle finding kids this year. As I told you, we're at 82, and I probably have 10 on a waiting list that either Head Start wasn't able to fill or that we weren't able to fill. But they may hopefully, I mean, there's some fluctuation, people will move, so we'll be able to fill those, but there is still a list, and people are calling every day to get in. And they'll say, we never heard about this before. I kind of talked to you a little bit about this. We have all of our teachers have degrees in early childhood either early childhood or early childhood special education, and they're doing some really great things in their classroom. So our goal is to improve family involvement, hence that new fancy title, Family Engagement Coordinator. Last year we were able to offer 3 huge events to all of our preschool families, not just to our students, but to their families. We invited everyone in their family to come out. The first one we held at the community center, and we decorated pumpkins, we fed them dinner, and we had the music therapists come in and provide a little program for them. 72 people showed. I remember sitting in the car thinking, well, just one person comes, it'll be okay. And then all of a sudden there were all these people, and we were in this tiny room at the community center, and I thought, oh, this is it was fantastic to stand back and watch. So we said, okay, we'll do another one. So at Christmas time, we did another event. We made gingerbread houses, and we provided dinner again. We had Santa Claus come. We gave a book to every child that came in, and we had 95 people come. And it was incredible. And again, we outgrew our room. So we said, okay, at the end of the year, we'll have one great big event, but where are we going to have it? Because we can't do it at the community center anymore. So, okay, we'll go to the park. So we reserved the shelter at Kreiser Road Park, and we said, we're going to have a picnic in the park. We're going to celebrate all of your accomplishments that you've had, great big family time. We're going to have games, face painting, all this stuff. Booked it. Had CNC ice cream came. 171 families and children showed up. We outgrew Kreiser Road Park. So I have big plans for this year.
Yeah, it is. Good stuff.
So it was exciting. It was exciting because we were able to watch families. They're not sitting at home watching TV. They were out playing, they were playing basketball. They were hula hooping. They were eating together. I don't know how they eat at home. You can only guess on some families, because of the way that they eat in the cafeteria or in the classroom. So to watch them sit together and have a meal, and then go and play, and then we all played together. It wasn't like you're standing on the playground and you're all just standing there watching the kids play. We played together. And that's a big focus for me, is how we can get our families and our children to work together with the schools. And it doesn't have to be, oh, we have to pass an SOL test. It can be, let's come together and make us all a family, because that's what we truly are. We should all be a family together, working together for their child's success. One of our big goals that I didn't talk about is that our really big goal is to be able to some point have a preschool program in all of the schools. AS Rose tends to be a little bit smaller, so we haven't been able to get a preschool program there. So that is one of our goals, is to be able to have a preschool in every classroom, to be able to, what we try to do is, if you're homeschool, we'll try to get you into that program first so that you're not dispersed. So when you're ready to go to kindergarten, you already know what that school is like, and it's not, oh, we have to make another transition to the school. So, anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
This is excellent. The transition, you mentioned that we're currently in two of the elementary schools. The children that are in the programs at those two schools don't all go into first grade or kindergarten at that school, right?
Correct. Actually, we're in all of the schools with the exception of AS Rose. So we're in, I always have to count in my head. So we have a more specialized program at LFK. We have 2 programs at Rusty Jeffries. We have 1 program at Hilda J. Barber and 2 programs at E. Wilson. So the only school that unfortunately doesn't have a program is going to be AS Rose. So all the rest of them do have. But you still have some displacement, because even though, so 2 of our classrooms can hold 18 students. The other classrooms only have 8, or they have a little bit more, but they're a mixture. So those classrooms are inclusive. That's really how we get to our inclusive class. We have our early childhood special education students that come through the child time process. So those are your 2 to 5-year-olds that have some type of developmental delay. They may have autism. So you have that population dispersed among the schools as well. And then you have the VPI classrooms, so they're a mixture class. So we have two that are only VPI, so the only people in those classrooms are your 4-year-olds. And then the other classrooms, the one at Ressie, Hilda J, and one classroom at U. Wilson, those are inclusive classrooms. So those have your early special education children, as well as your VPI.
Kind of a follow-on question to what you just said there. You're addressing, it seems, all the developmental needs that you put on that first chart, and some other ones too. When they transition into kindergarten and first grade, are their needs still being met?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. So once that IEP is written, that it's good for 3 years. So once they come to eligibility, it's good for 3 years. So if they come in, stay under developmental delay, that category is kind of unique because they can't stay. The state says you can't have a developmental delay diagnosis after age 7. So it's actually through age 6. So by their 7th birthday, if they're still having some trouble, then we would have to try to find another one of those 12 categories, because that 13th one they wouldn't be eligible for that anymore. So we would work with the doctors, work with the school system to try to figure out what's going on. Maybe it's a learning disability or something, so then we would provide services. But once they enter kindergarten or they go to first grade, services don't stop. We continue to provide services. And the county is a fully inclusive county now, so every classroom has a mixture. It's not anymore where it was, all the special education students were placed in one room. We really are working very hard to have a fully inclusive county so that there's not any segregation.
Having spent a significant amount of time in my elementary school principal's office as a kid, I noticed there's a lot of attention for the IEP and even now the 504 and a lot of federally and state mandated programs to help kids with autism, Asperger's, and other developmental challenges. And I think that's awesome. Are there any programs besides in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, a bunch of meetings to help kids that that don't have those challenges but have attention challenges, behavioral challenges, and they're not bad kids? They're just completely wired differently and drive everybody around them nuts, but they're really decent people.
Absolutely. We have partnered with area mental health agencies, family preservation, National Counseling Group, intensive in-home supervision. I know I just butchered his name, but we've partnered with those programs, and we have what we call behavior therapists that are in the classroom or in the school system, in every school in the county, providing behavioral support to those students that you were just talking about, to be able to help them maintain in the classrooms. So they may have a background in social work, they may have a psychology background, they may be ABA therapists, and they're coming in and they're working on goals with these kids. They're setting some good goals in the morning, things for them to achieve. We are huge in positive behavior supports. So there's lots of good stuff going on as far as to help meet their needs, because just because sometimes you have a behavior doesn't mean you require special education services. Sometimes you just need someone to check in with you and say.
I just had a principal that hugged me after she beat me.
Yes, ma'am.
I like the inclusive program. I think that's great. They're not segregating kids that are special. But my daughter teaches high school in North Carolina. She had a classroom where she had 38 kids. 2 of them were deaf. 2 of them were totally severely autistic, and another one that had ADD so bad she almost had to sit down on this desk. with no additional help, no aides, other than that they did have a assigned person. How does Warren County support teachers that have this type of classroom?
Good question, thank you.
We just moved to a practice called tiered supports. So what we've done is, and I hope I'm not mistaken, I'm not misspeaking, but I believe what we've done, I know in the elementary schools we have put in place these tiered 3 support staff, teachers, assistants, and what they do is they go in and help those classrooms that are just like what you spoke about, to support the needs of those students and of that teacher. We've implemented that in the high school as well. It's on a little, I think it looks a little different though.
Is there any kind of a mentoring program with the elementary school? Like I know in Winchester City, they just because my church is involved, and they have a mentoring program, and the whole purpose of that is for people that have had experiences in their own lives. Some are retired police officers, some are retired educators, where they'll go for like 1 hour a week and just sit with a kid who is well known among the adult community there, especially for all the wrong reasons, and just read to the kid or help the kid with their homework, just so they have a relationship with somebody and they feel more valued than just being a frequent flyer at the principal's office.
Right. So every school does something a little bit different. I know, and I'm going to just speak to Rusty Jeffries only because I have just familiar knowledge with them, but I do know that each school system they do something a little bit similar, and I believe LFK does the same thing. They have a program geared towards dads, and dads volunteer. They come in and spend the day. They're like a watchdog. That's what it was called at Rusty, but I think it's moved on to something else at this point. But dads will volunteer their day. They'll come in, and they have specific needs throughout the school, specific students that they work on an individual basis.
So that's not just their kid, it could be somebody else's?
Yes.
Do you have any information on that you can send us?
I sure can. Yeah, I'll get it from the elementary schools and send that to you.
Thank you.